Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Samantha, and if you love reading, today you're in the right place. Here on this channel, I just like to make book videos and talk about things that I've been reading recently. If you have missed the last few videos and you're interested in watching them on my channel, I've done a few book chats. I know I recently read Emily Henry's newest book, Great Big Beautiful Life. I recently read Tender is the Flesh, and I did a video about that, and I've done a few other videos on books that I've read recently, so if you're interested you can look at those on my channel. But today we're going to be talking about summer book recommendations. It's the beginning of June. Summer has basically started. It's hot outside, so I decided to kind of just compile a list of books that I think would be good to read in the summertime. They kind of have those vibes. They're across different genres. There's some horror, there's some romance, there's some new adult, those types of vibes. So I just want to, jump in and give my recommendations and hopefully help you find a book that you will like to read this summer. The first one is going to be 0 Stars Do Not Recommend by M.J. Wassmer. I read this book last year, and honestly it was really surprising to me, and it was one of my top books I feel like that I read because it was so unique and interesting. So this book is kind of a satire, I guess, but it is essentially a mix between The White Lotus and Lord of the Flies. So trust me, you've probably never heard of a book that has this premise, and that's why I really wanted to recommend it, because it's, again, like a really unique book. So when I first went into it, I thought this was a romance for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's not necessarily a romance, but it's about this man and his wife who go on a honeymoon, or they go on a trip essentially together to this island, beachy island. And when they get there, the sun explodes. And so it's kind of like a dystopian type of novel where they have to figure out what to do because the sun exploded. And now they're stuck on this beach. They're with other people who they don't know. They're trying to get back home, and they have to figure out, how to go about that. And so why it's mixed with Lord of the Flies and White Lotus, well, they're stuck at this beach resort, and so they're with a bunch of different people, and it's mixed with Lord of the Flies because it kind of has a survival aspect to it of, like I said, how to get off this island, how to align yourself with allies, and it kind of falls into this power structure and everything. So again, it is satirical, and it's very funny, it's very dry humor, and a really unique premise. And of course, it's perfect for the summer because beachy resort dystopian end of the world vibes, why not? So 0 Stars Do Not Recommend. I highly recommend this one. I really liked it. The next one is a Kristin Hannah book, and it is Firefly Lane. The reason I am recommending this one is because it is a little different than some of her other books. So I love Kristin Hannah for her historical fiction, and this one is also still kind of like a historical book, but it's more of a character-driven type of story. It follows two girls in the 1970s, and it follows their friendship all up until they're, where they are right now in life. And so it goes over multiple decades of their trials and tribulations that they've been through together, them having families, them kind of drifting apart but coming back together, and how their story of girlhood continues into their life. And so if you've read any of her books, this one is a little different because it's not necessarily set in a historical moment. For example, The Nightingale is for World War II, and it's kind of focused on the war during that time and how people got through that. The Women is set during the Vietnam War in the 70s, and about the women who were over there who were nurses. But this one is more of just a character story. Yes, it's set in the 1970s, and it goes through the decades, the 80s, the 90s, all up until the present day in this book, but it's not necessarily set on a historical event. It's just about the girls' lives. So that's why I wanted to recommend this one, because it is more of a summer read. I can imagine myself sitting out in a field somewhere reading this book in the summertime. So that's why I would recommend this one. So if you're looking for something kind of, character driven, girlhood, following someone's life path, this is the type of book for you. And it's also a Netflix show, so if you'd rather watch the show, it's on there. I've seen the first few episodes. I haven't watched the full thing, but I think it was pretty good for what I saw, and I really enjoyed this book as well. Okay, the next one is a romance, and it's called When I Think of You by Maya Ariel. I really enjoyed this book. I read it last year, and it's honestly a super quick read. It is a second chance romance about two individuals who live in Hollywood, and they kind of work in the same space. And the female main character is going through kind of this moment of her feeling like she's not good enough and she's not meant to be there working in Hollywood. And so she's kind of just going through the motions of life. And she runs back into the male main character who she dated in college, but they ended up breaking up. And he's like this film prodigy. His father was really prominent in the film industry, but has since passed away. And so it's kind of like been passed on to him to continue that legacy. And so they meet each other again, and the story goes from there. And I really liked this one because it was California Hollywood vibes, second chance romance, and it felt really real, and the characters felt really three-dimensional, and I just loved the chemistry that they had, and then coming back together just made sense to me. So if you are looking for that type of vibe, something that's a quick read that you would probably enjoy, I would recommend this one. Now, the next one is kind of like a horror book. It is called I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. Now, this one, again, is another really short book. This is Sheena Patel's debut novel. I read this a few years ago. I think I read it in 2023, so it's been a few years since I've read it, but it sticks out in my mind a lot of the time, and when I look at it on my shelf, it sticks out to me because, again, this green is like Brat green before Brat green was a thing. And so it's a really good story, but it's about a young woman who is living in London, and she is dating this man that she becomes obsessed with, essentially, but this man is not obsessed with her. He could care less that she even exists on this planet. And so it's a really good book because it's one of those books that I really enjoy, where it's just a weird girl becoming obsessive and doing all these deranged, crazy things. And it's essentially just following that like loss of reality in this girl. And she becomes obsessed with this man. She starts essentially stalking him, even though she's dating him. It's really weird, but if you were looking for those weird vibes, weird horror, deranged girl vibes, this is the book for you. Now, the next one is a new adult romance with a reality TV twist. This is called Attached at the Hip by Christine Riccio, and this is for all the Survivor fans out there. If you are a Survivor fan and you like romance, you would like this book. And if you haven't heard of it yet, go pick it up. This is your fix for the summer now that Survivor 48 has ended and 49 is going to start in the fall. In anticipation for Survivor 50, you can read this book. So it is essentially it's inspired by Survivor, and Attached to the Hip is in this universe, it is a reality TV show spinoff of Survivor where contestants go on the show and they're attached to someone with a rope on this island, and they have to complete challenges and vote people off of the island of the game. And essentially the person that you're attached to that you didn't know before going on the show is a missed connection or a lost connection in your life. So the producers have tracked people down in these people's lives and have brought them on the show together that they didn't know that they would be there. And so the female main character has to kind of go through that on the show and have this missed connection that she has had in her life. And this is a new adult, so the female main character is about 23, I think. And so she's kind of going through, again, the motions of life. She's just graduated college. She doesn't really know what to do with herself. She doesn't know where her life is going to take her. And so she goes on the show to try to find herself and to learn more about herself and do all that. So it's really cute. Really, again, it's a standard size book, but it's really quick read. I really enjoyed it. I read this when it first came out, and I thought it was super cute, and I loved the writing, and it was, again, a really easy read. So definitely recommend, again, if you're a Survivor fan, even if you're not, if you've never watched Survivor and you just like beachy reality TV vibes, it's like Survivor with Love Island, I guess, mixed together. I've never seen Love Island, but it has that romance vibe in it, a romance aspect. Okay, second to last one is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Now, I'm recommending this one because it is another book. It's set in the 70s, so I guess I kind of have a vibe going of books that are set in the 70s with this one and Firefly Lane. But it is about a young girl, a teenage girl, who gets pregnant and has to be sent down to Florida to have her baby. So she goes to this like home for wayward girls, but really it's just teen girls who have gotten pregnant. And while she's there, she learns witchcraft. And so it's all in the title. So I'm recommending this one because this is one of my favorites that Grady Hendrix has written. I feel like each time he writes a book, maybe he gets a little bit better, because I've read some of his others. I read My Best Friend's Exorcism, and it was good, but I didn't like it as much as this one. So this is, again, one of my favorites that he's written, and I really thought that the main character was really developed, and it wasn't kind of like a stereotypical book of a young girl getting pregnant, and so it really explores the themes of girlhood again, but having to go through having a child at such a young age, and then grappling with that and how they have to get through that, and they kind of discover this witchcraft and they are using that to kind of cope with the situation that they're in. And it's a really interesting book because this, when it was taking place, it was right before birth control became easily accessible for young women. So it was kind of, these young women were the last few, even though it's fictional, these young women were the last few that had to be sent away to these homes. And as time went on, it became less shameful to have a teenage pregnancy in our society, at least in America. So it was interesting to see kind of that point of view as well in this story of how these young women had to go through this experience kind of alone, essentially. And they were just shipped off from their families and had to come back after they've had these children. So it's a really good book, kind of from a history perspective, but also it was a good horror book as well. It's very gory. It has, some gore in it, so keep that in mind. But if you're interested in that type of horror read for the summer, I definitely recommend this one. And then the last book is a book that I don't have physically, but it is called The Guest by Emma Cline. I love Emma Cline's books. I've only read 2 of hers. I'm not sure if she has any more, but I read The Guest in summer of 2023, I believe, and I read it on Libby. And again, this is another one that really sticks out to me as something that was really memorable, and it's similar to I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. It's one of those weird girl obsessive books, but it's about this young woman who is dating an older man, and he has a house in the Hamptons. So he takes her to the Hamptons for the weekend, but essentially he dumps her and ditches her. So now she's stuck on the Hamptons Island, doesn't have any way to get home, and the story essentially follows her like over a period of a few days just trying to survive, and how she does that and what she does to do that. So again, those are all of my recommendations for this summer. If you are interested in any of these books, again, I highly recommend them. I just wanted to make this quick video because I've been in a bit of a reading slump since my semester ended, and so I have been trying to get through a few books. I did read Hungerstone by Kat Dunn that I want to do a video for when I gather my thoughts on that, and so that's why I wanted to make this one, just so I wanted to, get some recommendations out there and give you something maybe that you hadn't heard of before. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, you can like the video, you can subscribe if you want to see more book chats and more book talks, and thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.